بما ينتفي اسم الإيمان عن المؤمن. By what would the name of faith become unapplicable to one who was a mu'min, a faithful one, to one who was faithful? Or by what would the name of belief become unapplicable to who was a believer? ليعلم أنه لا يزول اسم الإيمان ليعلم أنه لا يزول اسم الإيمان والإسلام عن المؤمن إلا بالردة. Let it be known that the name of faith or belief, as well as the name of Islam, does not become inapplicable to the faithful believer Muslim except by apostasy. Do you remember what did Imam al-Tahawi say? He said, إِلَّا بِجُحُودِ مَا أَدْخَلَهُ فِيهِ, except by denial of what admitted him into it. Sheikh says here, إِلَّا بِالرِّدَّةِ, except by apostasy. التي هي أفحش أنواع الكفر. Apostasy, which is the most heinous of the types of blasphemy. Most heinous in some ways, not in all ways. We actually have a footnote here. لأن الردة تذهب كل الحسنات, because apostasy eradicates all of one's good deeds. وتبقى السيئات, and the bad deeds shall remain. ولو رجع إلى الإسلام بعد ذلك لا ترجع له الحسنات, and if one were to return to Islam after that, his good deeds will not return. التي كان عملها, those good deeds that he had performed. That's correct saying, not contrary to that. Contrary to that was said that it comes back. That's unreliable. وتبقى السيئات, the bad deeds remain. فإن تاب منها ذهبت, if one repents from the apostasy, if one repents from the bad deeds after he comes back to Islam, then those bad deeds will go away. وليس معنى الردة أفحش أنواع الكفر أن كل أنواع الردة أشد من كفر الكافر الأصلي. And it does not mean to say that apostasy is the most heinous of the types of blasphemy, that every type of apostasy is more severe than any blasphemy of an original blasphemer. لأن كفر الكافر الأصلي قد يكون أشد من كفر المرتد. Because the blasphemy of an original blasphemer could be more severe than the blasphemy of an apostate. فليس معنى قول النووي المذكور أن الردة أشد أنواع الكفر كفرا. So An-Nawawi's mentioned statement, which is the one we're commenting on, this is the statement of An-Nawawi, الردة أفحش أنواع الكفر. It does not mean that apostasy is the most severe of the types of blasphemy in blasphemy. It doesn't mean that it is the most severe blasphemy in blasphemy. إنما مراده شدة قبحها. Merely his intent is the severity of its ugliness. That's why I chose the word heinous. Afhash means abominable. Very very ugly. في أنها خروج من الإسلام الذي هو الحق, because it is a departure of Islam, which is the truth, إلى الباطل, to falsehood, which is any blasphemy. الذي هو الكفر, which is blasphemy. كما يقال, like it is said, الفسوق أقبح من العالم منه من الجاهل. Like it might be said, a major sin from a scholar is uglier than a major sin from a layman. Jahil here, layman. Yani means ignorant, means one who's not a scholar though. Sometimes jahil just means one who's not a scholar. And also because the rules of apostasy are stricter than the rules of original blasphemy, because the apostate is to be executed by the proper authorities, while the original blasphemer is not executed like that. And because the Muslim ruler can do a treaty with an original blasphemer, and he cannot do a treaty with an apostate. And because the apostate's marriage is invalid, yani if he wants to get married, he cannot, as opposed to an original blasphemer. And other rules, like his slaughter is inedible, while the slaughter of a Jew or a Christian is edible, and other things. وَيُسَمَّى عِنْدَئِذٍ كَافِرًا. So then, when the name of faith and the name of Islam becomes inapplicable to one, then he would be called a kafir, blasphemer, or disbeliever. وَلَا يَجُوزُ مُنَادَاتُهُ بِالْمُسْلِمِ, and it's not permissible to call him a Muslim. وَلَا بِالْمُؤْمِنِ, nor to call him a mu'min, a believer, or faithful. بَلِ الْأَمْرُ كَمَا فَعَلَ الْإِمَامُ الشَّافِعِي, rather the matter is like what Imam al-Shafi'i did. فَإِنَّهُ قَالَ لِحَفْصٍ الْفَرْدِ, for indeed he said to Hafs al-Fard, بعدما ناقشه في مسألة الكلام, after he debated with him about the case of the speech of God, لقد كفرت بالله العظيم, you have blasphemed in Allah the Great. Yani he didn't sugarcoat his case. He said to him in his face what his case was. You committed kufr, he said. That doesn't mean that everyone can just do like a Shafi'i did in every circumstance. Rather, you need to be mindful of your circumstance. The wise ones said, لِكُلِّ مَقَامٍ مَقَالٍ. It means every situation has its proper statement. ففي مناقب الشافعي للبيهقي ما نصه. In Manaqib al-Shafi'i, that's a book by Al-Bayhaqi, it is documented therein, quote, عن محمد بن إسحاق بن خزيمة, from the route of Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Khuzaymah, قال سمعت الربيع يقول, he said, I heard al-Rabi' saying, لما كلم الشافعي رحمه الله حفصا الفرد, when الشافعي spoke to Hafs al-Fard, فقال حفص, and then Hafs said, القرآن مخلوق, the Quran is created. قال الشافعي, الشافعي said, كفرت بالله العظيم, you have blasphemed in Allah the Great. انتهى, end quote. كذلك كفر عدد من المجتهدين الحجاج بن يوسف الثقفي. Likewise, a number of mujtahids deemed Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf as a blasphemer. كما ذكر ذلك الحافظ العسقلاني في تهذيب التهذيب في ترجمة الحجاج, like what Hafiz al-Asqalani said in his book Tahdhib al-Tahdhib about the biography of Al-Hajjaj. ومن جملة الذين كفروه سعيد بن جبير رضي الله عنه, and amongst those who deemed him as a blasphemer is Sa'id ibn Jubayr. May Allah accept his deeds. وَالشَّعْبِي, and الشعبي. وكذلك كفر القاضي المالكي تقي الدين محمدا الباجريقي لزندقته وإلحاده. Al-Qadi, the judge, Al-Maliki, who's a Maliki, deemed as a kafir Taqiyuddin Muhammad al-Bajiriqi for his irreligiousness and his atheism. وكان والده من العلماء الأجلاء, and his father was one of the great scholars. كما في القاموس مع شرحه, as documented in the dictionary Al-Qamus and in its explanation. Al-Qamus is a dictionary, but one of the benefits of this dictionary is that he talks about some people. He gives the names of people and talks about them a little bit. Not all the dictionaries do that, so that's one of the highlights of Al-Qamus al-Muhit. وفي حديث البخاري, and in the hadith of Al-Bukhari, من بدل دينه فاقتلوه, who changes his religion, execute him. دليل على جواز تكفير المعين. So in this hadith of Al-Bukhari, who changed his religion, execute him, there is evidence for the permissibility, the validity, the correctness of deeming a particular person a blasphemer after he was a Muslim. Deeming someone in particular as a kafir. تكفير المعين لأن المرتد عندما يقتله الخليفة, because the apostate, when the caliph executes him, يكون ذلك تكفيرا له بالتعيين. That would be the caliph deeming that particular person a blasphemer. وكذلك لعن الكافر المعين جائز. And likewise, damning or cursing a particular blasphemer is permissible. وإن لم يرد نص قرآني أو حديث صحيح بموته على الكفر. Even if there did not come any Quranic text or authentic hadith about this particular blasphemer dying upon blasphemy, like Iblis, he is a particular blasphemer who it is documented that he shall die upon blasphemy. And others like Abu Lahab and his wife. What about someone who's a kafir now, for example, or he was a kafir and there's no confirmed religious documentation that he would die as a kafir? Shaykh is saying damning him or cursing him is not haram. لما رواه ابن حبان في صحيحه عن ابن عمر أنه سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في صلاة الفجر. Because of what Ibn Hibban narrated in his authentic hadith book from Ibn Umar, that he heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say in the Fajr prayer, حين رفع رأسه من الركوع, when he raised his head from the bowing position, ربنا لك الحمد. He said when he raised his head from ruku', ربنا لك الحمد في الركعة الأخيرة, in the last rak'ah. ثم قال, and then he said, اللهم لعن فلانا وفلانا. Oh Allah, damn so-and-so and so-and-so, or curse so-and-so and so-and-so. دعا على أناس من المنافقين. He supplicated against some people who were hypocrites, pretending to be Muslims. فأنزل الله, and so Allah Ta'ala revealed, ليس لك من الأمر شيء أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. That's the 128th ayah of Surah Al-Imran. It means, actually, I need to review the tafsir of this ayah so that I can say it confidently and clearly. ففيه دليل على جواز لعن الكافر المعين الذي لم يعلم موته على الكفر. This is evidence that it is permissible to damn a particular blasphemer whose death upon blasphemy is not definitively known. لأن هؤلاء أسلموا فيما بعد, because those whom the Prophet damned embraced Islam later. فكان لعن الرسول لهم من غير أن يعلم عاقبتهم. And so the messenger's damning them was without him knowing their fate.